Welcome to Here Is Why Paw Patrol is the greatest superhero film of our generation and why I should direct the next Paw Patrol film.
Whoa! Welcome to our new Adventure City headquarters. Whoa.
Disclaimer, I've not watched the second Paw Patrol film out of fear that it won't be as good. So just... I saw Paw Patrol movie for the first time on the 12th of August 2021 and I have thought about nothing since. It's just under 90 minutes, which all films should be in my opinion. What business have you got making me sit down for more than 2 hours? So I have rewatched it many times and I think I am the most qualified person to talk about the audience and just everything that happens in the film. In the show, we learn a little bit about one of the pups' backstories. We learn about Rubble in Pups Save a Rubble. Pups Get a Rubble. Pups Get a Rubble. But this film is mainly centered around Chase. It focuses on his PTSD, his anxiety, his upbringing, where they got him from, the city. The pups revisit Adventure City, which is where he was born and where he was abandoned, so there is some trauma. The film massively differs to the TV show in that there are legitimate crimes that take place. There is destruction of property, there's arson, there's animal abuse, and there is some serious government misconduct. The first major problem in the film is about 20 minutes in. Multiple smaller problems hold the interest of the younger children while still coming into Mayor Humdinger's overarching mischievous plan. He's not a criminal, guys, he's just mischievous. This works perfectly for the target audience of little gremlins that don't have an attention span. And me, I fit into that category as well. Instead of this big overarching, I mean there is a plot, there is an overall plot, but instead of this big overarching thing where it all culminates at the end to this crazy crime, it's broken down into almost chapter-esque things. So it's kind of like watching a few episodes of Paw Patrol in a row, but they're all tied together. So you nailed it, Nickelodeon. Throughout these mini missions, Chase is shown to really struggle being in Adventure City. The complicated emotions that Chase is feeling are conveyed to the audience through like simple and accessible language.
I'm afraid if I go back there, everyone will see I'm still that scared little puppy and not the hero they think I am.
Ryder says things to him about them being tough memories and things like that kids can really understand and they could probably relate to, whether it's on a scale as big as being abandoned in Adventure City or something slightly more child size.
What's got his leash in a knot?
Chase has a history with Adventure City. He has a lot of tough memories from that place.
Chase's inner conflict is verbalised aloud and it's explained in an accessible way, and it's so important for things like this to be shown to kids so that they're able to have similar conversations and they have access to the kind of language that they can use to explain how they're feeling.
Trust me.
Okay, I trust you.
When Chase is afraid of the heights when he's trying to save people from Humdinger's Hyperloop, Ryder coordinates so that the Paw Patrol can continue helping people while still prioritising getting Sky over to Chase to make sure he is okay, because that is equally as important as saving people's lives, is making sure that he's okay.
Chase is in trouble. Sky, bring him down. Marshall, get your ladder up to the train.
I'm on it!
They don't exclude him by deeming that mission and saving people's lives is worse than how he is feeling. They both equally get treatment and help treatment. Anyway, let's talk about how pretty it is. The very opening of the film is gorgeous. There's these turtles and this sunset and they're crossing the bridge and it just... The colours are really bright and vibrant while still being like an aesthetic colour palette. So many kids shows are just like vibrant vomit and it manages to have that vibe of keeping kids' attentions whilst also looking good. There's loads of whip pans and there's entertaining camera work to hold kids' attentions. I'm saying hold kids' attentions with all of this as if it's not like hold my attention. I'm the kid. The fireworks when everything is going wrong look so cool. They are gorgeous. The red and blue lights of the police car genuinely inspired me to do this. When he's hanging onto the burning building and everything goes into slow motion? Are you kidding me? riding the bike at the side of the building. Did someone say it in other Spider-Verse? The parallels. The cinematic parallels. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. One of my favourite superhero films of all time is Iron Man 3 for a very similar reason to this film. The entire plot, it's the same thing. If you've seen Iron Man 3, you've seen Paw Patrol, but you still need to watch Paw Patrol. If you've seen Paw Patrol, you don't need to watch Iron Man 3, just leave it at that. There's all of these projections around them of Adventure City, and it's so similar to the way that Tony Stark brings up all of this tech. There's a slow motion suit up montage which is fucking epic with all of this like incredible music and montage, and everything is just like the scale of it, it's just... There's a shot that always reminds me of Age of Ultron where they come down this big slide and it's in slow motion, all of the pups going out into the city together, and it's like the bit where they all are like leaping through this wintry forest thing. But there's not only parallels with this film and other superhero films, within itself it has comparisons at the beginning and the end, and you can see the progression of it, much like in the Spider-Verse. There's the infamous shot where he doesn't quite fit to the mask and then his eyes match up later on in the film, showing that he has grown into it. Metaphors, it means shit. There's shots looking down at the floor of the city, and it mirrors earlier when he is scared, and yet this time he overcomes it.
I can do this. I can do this.
The film really explores things like bravery and perceptions, how other people perceive you, and as I said earlier, these conflicts are made so accessible to kids and said in a language that they will understand. Chase blames himself for what he is feeling and what he is therefore making other people go through in his head. But that inner conflict is something that is quite complex, and yet it is verbalized. Any kid watching that will know exactly what he's feeling and why. It's important to show that your feelings matter no matter what else is going on around you. None of this like, their situation is worse than mine, so I should keep mine down. No. Later on in the film, Ryder accepts responsibility for taking Chase to Adventure City. It's a really big thing to admit that you might have made a decision that was not for the best. Whether or not it was intentional, I think it's important for kids to see figures that are in like higher positions of authority admitting that they were wrong or they did something that had negative consequences. Ryder brings Chase back to replace the tough memories with happy ones. He explains that he didn't see him as a scared little puppy. He saw how brave he was. There's no pity there. He says, "You were born to be a hero."
What I saw was a brave, heroic pup. I didn't adopt you because I felt sorry for you. I chose you because you were the bravest pup I'd ever seen.
This notion that is spelled out throughout their simplified dialogue and through Ryder admitting his mistakes is all sort of solidified towards the end of it. Chase remembers Ryder's words when in slow motion he is the one who overcomes his fears and saves the day.
I chose you because you were the bravest pup I'd ever seen.
It's inspiring and it looks pretty cool. Brief intermission while I bow down to the music. That soundtrack had me bawling. I know earlier I said there are legitimate crimes going on in this, but when we talk about the consequences of it, it is on a smaller scale because there are children. You're not going to see any burning bodies in a fire. It's just going to be sort of screaming and stuff. It's on a scale that they can interpret as dangerous but also not be terrified. So the stakes aren't incredibly dangerous in terms of what could happen on the screen, but the music still gets it up to that sort of level and makes you feel like it's a really intense moment. Not to say that it's not, I'm just saying like we're not about to be emotionally scarring kids, but the music is really intense to sort of emulate a more grown-up situation. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We know. When they get the new cars, that music, I don't think I can include it. Just go, do yourself a favour, go listen to some of it. Go watch the film, appreciate the music, listen to... And as they all go down the hill to save the day, the theme, I can feel it in my bones, inject it into my blood. I've spoken a lot, there's a lot that's going on here, but the story and the scale of it works really well. The new pup from the city, Liberty, we sort of, as an audience, become her. We are her observing, we are her being accepted into the crew. You are never too young to learn. Indoctrinate them from a young age. Brainwash the children. There's a few main areas in this film where I think the politics and the representation bangs. This introduces kids to the concept of corrupt politicians.
I want to start off by thanking each and every one of you for choosing me to be your new mayor.
You were the only name on the ballot!
Hear me out here, because I'm not about to start explaining deep lore of politics and government structures to children. However, the notion that someone in a position of power can do something that is bad and they are not always right is really important for kids, because grown-ups are not always right. Grown-ups are not always right, okay? Even me, sometimes. Not very often. Sometimes I can be slightly wrong, but not fully. I'm the exception to this rule, okay? It's spelled out again in accessible language for the kids and for me, so I know what's going on. It goes over my head. But we got some cool representation in the film as well. We got some cool people, we got some cool things going on. We've got a black woman as a scientist, we've got Sky as a female pilot. They're cool, they're cool. Films with female pilots are automatically feminist as ignore those bits. I can make a whole video on this alone. This is not a slay thing. This is a side moment. Queer villains. Mayor Humdinger, that is a queer man. All I will say on this, although I have many thoughts, is that you can have queer villains, you can have queer coded characters, as long as you also have queer coded characters that are not villains. AKA, give Mayor Goodway a wife. You've had lesbian cat people, lesbian chicken people. Consider. Listen, the Willowers love a good cottagecore, off-the-grid living situation. They would carry a chicken around in their bag if they could. I'm saying this as the spokesperson for the Willowers. The Lewers. Nullawers. Nerd. Listen, it's just a good film. What can I say?
And what can I say, buddy? Oh, what can I say?
It's funny.
How can we afford this place?
Officially licensed Paw Patrol merchandise.
Come on, this is ridiculous!
Green means go! Green means go! Green does still mean go, right?
There's some really lovely moments in it, like Liberty getting to watch all of the pups go down the slide and still being just as excited, not knowing what is coming next. And she gets her own car, and it's so lovely, and I cry. Kim K is in it. Whether that goes in like a pros or a cons of the film, I don't know, but she's there. There's a cute little callback to the man on the tube who really turns his life around after Liberty has her like girl boss moment of like, litter. Another questionable mention, Meg Goodway and Daring Danny X, only cameos. What were you thinking? What were you thinking? I want a Mayor Goodway spin-off. I want to know about her life. How is she in a position of power with this mental stability? Listen, I don't know if any of this has been coherent. I've not even seen the second film. It could be just as good, but